The aircraft uses 606 gallons of fuel an hour to fly. So that technically, according to my numbers, works out to about 22 hours of flying time. Now, the little hole in the back of the airplane there, the little oval, elongated rectangle, whatever you want to call it, is about 115 feet away from where you're standing right now. It's 5 feet tall, and there's 35 feet more airplane beyond that. It leads into the tail, obviously, and there was actually somebody sitting in the tail of the airplane when the airplane flew. They were watching for hydraulic leaks. Because all of the flight controls are run by hydraulics. They're too big to use just a standard cable pulley system to move them. When the airplane got done flying, they brought it back and they did an inspection of the airplane, and they found there were huge cracks back by the tail in the fuselage. The tail had just about fallen off.
Oh my word.
Just the weight, like the plane just pulled.
It was, but the thing is, it was not just the weight of the tail, but they had already made 2 taxi runs in the harbor, and it was bouncing like this, and the tail was doing this kind of number the whole time. So yeah, it wore itself out, is what it did. But that's not the worst seat in the house. Knowing the tail is about to fall off, I would still pick that seat better than the other seats I'm going to show you. Okay. He fixed the tail. He put the airplane away in the hangar for 33 years and paid $1 million a year to keep the airplane in flight-ready condition. Well, you kind of have to. You never know when somebody's going to come up and say, "Bet you can't do that again." So they put it away, but he got to thinking about it too. This airplane was built within 10 years of the Hindenburg disaster. It's all made of wood. He doesn't want this to become another fiery news story for the press, so he put in these red bottles and this pretty silver plumbing so that if a fire did break out, all the CO2 in those bottles would be released to all corners of the aircraft, hopefully putting the fire out or at least knocking it down so it could be taken care of. I just wouldn't want to be working in here when those go off.
Yeah.
When we got the airplane, though, it was in pieces. It was an ideal time to inspect it for things like mold, mildew, dry rot, those kind of things that all wood loves to deal with. When we got to those big pontoon floats at the ends of the wings, and we popped those to look inside, those beach balls started popping out. So those pontoons out there are also made of wood, and if you hit something in the harbor at 50, 60 miles an hour with them and put a hole in them, you wouldn't know it right away, and you keep on cruising down the harbor and all that water is going to be forced into that pontoon. But with the beach balls in it, they already take up the space so the water can't stay in there or get in there too far, so he wouldn't sink the aircraft that way. So that's what the beach balls were. They may still have 1946 air in them, I don't know. One thing I am sure of, though, is they're not Walmart specials.
That is.
Okay. We'll work our way forward here. Watch out for those black and yellow things. Now, this next bit of information is what I believe to be true. I have not found it to be in any books yet, but I believe the most important piece of equipment on this aircraft to Howard Hughes are his coffee pots. Okay. The guy that sits here, he's in charge of electricity. If somebody was to call down and say, "Hey, we've got sparks, electrical fire, we got a problem with the airplane, shut it down now," he just pulls on that lever and all the power of the airplane goes off. I was worried about this poor guy though. Think about this. This is the only chair on this level. Even the guy in the tail is not technically on this level. So he's down here alone. Doors will be closed. This is probably his only light source. And he figures that all we're supposed to do is go up and down the harbor a few times. So as long as somebody doesn't yell at me to pull the lever, I can just sit here and enjoy the ride, bouncing along on the water, having a grand old time. Howard is the only one that knows the airplane's going to fly. So he's bouncing along, having a good time. All of a sudden, Howard makes the airplane fly. This is not going to plan. What should he do? Should he pull the lever? Because something is not right. I figured if you pulled the lever, and he wasn't supposed to, Howard would come down the stairs and throw him out the door before the airplane landed. However, if something did go wrong and he didn't pull the lever, then Howard would come down the stairs and throw him out the door. I just worried about this. Okay, any idea what the silver footballs overhead are all about?
It's got a coil on it.
Plugged in.
Something electrical.
Are they ballast for?
No, not ballast. They are directional radio antennas. You will actually see them on some of the other aircraft out here, but they're always on the outside. They belong on the outside. How could he make them work inside the airplane? Huh? That's right, it's made of wood.
Yep.
Radio waves go through wood. Now I was thinking about that. If radio waves go through wood, then radar is just another form of radio wave, and radar waves should go through wood, then this would be considered a stealth aircraft, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
I figure if nothing else, all the radar guy's going to see is 8 little engines flying in formation like geese. Spruce goose, geese.
Yeah.
Let's go on upstairs.
Fascinating.
All right, do you feel like you just stepped back in time? Okay, let's go to the back wall. We'll work our way from back to front like we did downstairs. And when you get to the back wall, I want you to look to your left. Now remember I said that the tail was not the worst seat in the house? There was somebody sitting behind each engine with a fire extinguisher in their lap when the airplane flew.
Just on the floor? Oh wait, no, there's a little seat there. Oh, a little bench.
There's a little walkway there, and they
Oh,
sit on the
they-
walkway.
Oh.
Now, the wing is 11 feet thick top to bottom when we stand. Getting into the front half of the wing is very easy because there's a nice big door there. But this wall is actually the main wing spar. So to get into the back half of the wing, you got to go through there.
Through the hole? Oh,
Yep.
that. Oh. Wow.
It keeps getting worse, like one hole than the next one.
And above that nice little hole there is your high-speed, high-tech 1946 electronics with color-coded wiring. You will notice the white wires that are right adjacent to the white wires.
Wires.
If you look close enough, every wire has its own individual number though.
So the main spar is all wood?
Yes, it's all wood. It's laminates of different woods. The only spruce, by the way, in this aircraft is in that main wing spar.
Ah.
The rest of this aircraft is made of birch. Now the term spruce goose was derived to make Howard mad. That's all it was done. They wanted to get under his skin and make him make mistakes and stuff like that. If anybody that worked for him said spruce goose, he'd fire him on the spot because this is the Hercules to him. When the press found out that the majority of the aircraft is birch, they came up with their own nickname, but it's not very family friendly, so we don't use it around here. Now, believe it or not, this is how you start the airplane. These are two 4-cylinder Franklin aircraft engines. You can take them out of here, put them in a little airplane across the street and go flying with it, if it wasn't frozen. Get these two engines started up with the hand crank. They'll develop the electricity we need to start the big engines up. Once the big engines are started, we can shut these down. So now, when you play Trivial Pursuit and it asks you how many engines are on the Spruce Goose, you now know the correct answer is 10. That's right. The card's going to say 8, but you say, nope, I've seen them, I've got pictures, it's 10, I get the piece, I win the game.
So they were the first generation APUs then
Exactly.
on board.
Mhm.
Sweet.
Where do these exhaust to?
If you look on the back, there are exhausts
Okay.
going out to the back.
Not that
And-
crazy.
In fact, when you're on the outside of the airplane on this side and you look up at the exhaust ports, it looks like 50mm cannons coming out the side of the airplane. Okay, now if you'd like to have a seat to see what real legroom feels like in an aircraft, please feel free to do so. The second seat away on that back row has got a broken spring in it, so I would not sit in that. But you're welcome to have a seat. The press use these seats.
Very luxurious.
That's just because that one's still tilted back. It'll tilt forward.
I see.
But the press use these seats during the flight.
So they were on board during that
Yes.
These are nice.
liftoff.
Pull up on the handles there. Pull up on those. And lean back.
Oh, it's nice. You've got this.
The museum closes at 5. We'll be back about.
Oh.
On this 70-foot off the ground cruise.
Anyways, the press used these seats. Howard made 2 taxi runs on the harbor, and then he came back to port. When he came back to port, 2 of these guys got off the airplane because they wanted to be the first ones to get their stories on the wire. They're typing away like crazy. They look out the window, and here goes the airplane back out in the harbor. Guess what
Ooh.
it's going to do? And guess where they're not.
Oh my word.
By the way, there is one more little knob on the front of your seats. Pull it straight forward toward the cockpit. Pull it straight forward toward the cockpit. There you go.
Let me see that.
Ashtrays.
On a wooden airplane. That he's concerned is gonna work.
They're not made
No, not my wood, right? Okay, so it's a test airplane. It's a prototype airplane. That's why we have things around here called propeller test station. Are we getting the thrust we want out of the propellers? This over here is your airflow with the wings and the tail. Are we getting the lift where we want it or not? If you look at the bottom of the wings on your way out, you'll see a whole bunch of little tiny holes. Those are the sensor holes for that piece of equipment to tell you whether you've got positive pressure or not. And then of course you have your engine performance, your hydraulic performance, your engine temperatures, but most importantly, we got more coffee. Okay, I need a pilot and a co-pilot, please.
Pilot.
Okay, so there's a big sign back here that says, please do not move switches or controls. However, if you're going to sit in Howard's seat, I want you to feel what Howard felt. So I want you to put your hand on the throttle levers. Both of you can do this. You just put 24,000 horsepower in the palm of your hand. I'm going to play a recording back here, and as he talks about the speed going from 25 knots up to 70 knots, I want you to start pushing those levers forward because you're going to add enough power for us to get off the ground here.
This is James McNamara speaking to you from the cabin of the giant Hughes aircraft once again. All of you just alerted us. Get back everyone to hold on. You'll get all 8 engines moving. Tremendous horsepower sticking
The
up.
guy talking.
Power sitting directly in front of us. Moving out to its seat. Here we go. Here we go. The airspeed indicator. Let's go up to 25. It's 30. 35. As he pushes the throttle, it's 40. 45. More throttle. 45. It's 50. It's 50 over a choppy sea. It's 55. It's 55. More throttle. It's 60. It's up to 65. It's 70. It's 75. And something momentarily just out, and I believe we are airborne. We are airborne, ladies and gentlemen. I don't believe that Howard Hughes meant this to be. I don't know. We are airborne for just a moment. And we were really up in the air. We were really up in the air. And I don't know whether Howard, did you expect that? Certainly, I'd like to make surprised. You were surprised? I said, I don't make a surprise. Well, it's certainly surprised the people here. The airspeed was 80 miles an hour.
Okay, go ahead and pull the levers back so we can land. Don't want to be up in the air all day long now. And you may also notice over your head is an open hatch. As long as you're not standing on the seats, you're more than welcome to stand up and look down the back of our little airplane. Oops.